Hi, we here at Berg-Mountain Optional University are happy to have you back here with us. The news of James Earl Jones shocked us as it had the nation. Here in this session of the last black unicorns we cover the third distinction in relative economic competence, where value is only in relation to a market of which its community governed by a king or ruler. Men collect currency as unicorns grow horns, measuring in number what unicorns do in height and girth of horns. Won't you come along with us?
Third distinction. Relativity, economic competence. Value is only as high as one can convince another or others that a thing is worth some 1% of minted coin, a fraction of it, or a multiple of 1 unit. Yes, what unit, is the first question asked, where that value figured in labor is called the US dollar. But these are only of man-made things, as we don't buy trees from the Berg-Mountain Arboretum. We don't buy mountains but only boundary lines. Similarly, not gold but species of coinage which worth various amounts represents its value in eusocial hivelike citizenry who agree to follow similar rules for collective betterment. Whatever piece of the whole, whoever minted it did half of all they could. It's not really how much a piece is valued by the market. It is, however, the fact that it is valued at all which is the issue. Economic competence begins as nuclear families commence to perpetuity with family, neighbors, and friends invest buying bonds in their unit under the Lord and in God we trust. Ensuring growth. The last black unicorns are technically monogamous, where in running they extend their horns as men working increases their worth, and like herds, companies of men benefit from moving in unison. As growth of horns come with time, vigor, and wisdom, men also may, but never first. Unicorns and men fall in line of rank in their respective orders. Taxonomically, of empires and domains, kings rule kingdoms of phylum and classes where persons are categorized either civilized or barbarian. If civilized ordered is under either noblemen or others who presides, but where there are barbarians there are also barbarian steered horses. As where there are bred horses there are economies. Value is always in relation to some market, where unicorns' horns and common men's dignity are invaluable.
Equus ferus cabalus are breeds of horses once wild, where one can't ride a horse without permission from an owner or an economy stable enough to buy one. There are no more wild horses readily available to catch, break, and ride, and even fewer of the last black unicorns. Many wonder why, where stabilizing an economy began with a community's demand for sustenance in grains. With 1 grain of barley equaling 4/3 the weight of wheat, units of mass in wheat and barley grains were legal definitions of weight from the Bronze Age to the Renaissance. Determining standards of weights and measure in value, the troy ounce, avoirdupois, and apothecary systems all base weights on the standard grain about 64.79891 milligrams. Measuring precious metals at 1 pound equals 5,760 grains couldn't be with goods of weight at 1 pound equals 7,000 grains, though with materia medica, pharmaceutical medicines, equaled the troy measure though called apothecary. Sure, there are other systems of weights and measures, but speaking English we've focused on those 3 which are based on 1 grain of barley. Barley has a fiber content more than corn, wheat, rye, and rice, and can be fed as an only grain in a horse's diet. Horses consume from 2 to 2.5% of their body weight per day, so an Oldenburg horse weighing 1,700 pounds would consume up to 42.5 pounds a day and 1,275 pounds per month. If there were still wild horses, there would be no civilization, as they would eat barley planted before harvest time and communities couldn't feed themselves. But bread feed is guaranteed for horses and men, and, subsequently, value can be placed on tomorrow's projections which couldn't have been before.
Value is always in relation to some market, where in any community there are horses which pull goods of weight grown to and fro, and as men follow sense of mayors in city governments, as queen bees hive, so do unicorns follow Mare's sense. When currency and specie of kings or sovereigns are present, so is the cent of the ruler in pounds, shillings, and pence or pennies, denarii. With men's girth is determined by how much capital they'd amassed from the rigors of work. Girth of unicorn horns through vigor from running is increased. As organized society is at its highest level eusocially, like in queen bees hives, economic drones are made of Englishmen and the last black unicorns as well. Where there is a congregation there is also value, as socially men determine how much one has to exchange for something needed of what one has in relation to the king or ruler. Sure, one could always barter in the wilderness and survive, but in relation to the king or ruler, where taxes are paid, we may only approach being eusocial like bees, with the regulation of goods sold and accurate accounts of income, losses, and profit. The ability to count past ourselves, the ability to think past one, and the necessity to determine our effect on the world through the king or ruler, however, is incumbent on earls, which the last black unicorns may never be. What? Well, because earls are white and chained to the crown's system of taxation, but the last black unicorns being feral, valuing horns girth which increases as they run, have little time to, as men count money they'd made, count past themselves, their horns or their posterity for running.
Though men desire money, they only do because in doing so they feel it can substitute for what is invaluable, being dignity. How much more dignified is a horse standing regularly, which to man looks arrogant, than a horse amongst men with a horn? As all the money in the world couldn't buy a unicorn, neither does it buy horses, whereas husbandry may be better, where in theory no horse other than those few still wild are without stables nor fields of grain. Actually, the last black unicorns value but horns and sense of Mares, where following sense, running their horns grow. Victory is not in reaching destinations to breed, graze, or compare horns as men home from battle might, but monogamously in and around arrondissements, running, pointing horns and charging to perpetuity with dignity. Consequently, men revere in unicorns dignity as kings do lions' strength. Personified, counting money. Men measure horns, finding dignity, having more currency than others, and claim to be unicorns qua unicorns and second or at least closer to the king. James Earl Jones, 1931 to 2024, rested on September 9.
Where there are bred horses, markets are as well. Needing nothing, man place value on what he wants in relation to kings and sovereigns. Considering kings and sovereigns, common men wish to be so dignified, amassing all the currency they may and compare it to others with less, where dignity is but a relative concept in relation to a king. Measurement is of growth as man's horns peak economically.
That's all the information we have for you at this time. Feel free to reread for better clarification and understanding. Next session we cover our fourth distinction, pride or educational confidence in #you can be unicorns too, distinguished in time from space. We can't wait to see you there then. Thank you for your time and consideration.